I will speak in English because the lecturer is from the United States. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the lecture of Professor Sam Richards. I am In Jin Yoon at Sociology Department, who invited him to Korea University. As you know, Professor Richard is an internationally well-known teacher and sociologist at Penn State University and the instructor of the largest race, gender, and cultural relations course in the United States. He is famous for his teaching style that communicates with students and draws their ideas and participation as much as possible. He also conducts research on Hallyu and promotes the social and cultural values of K-contents to the world. The purpose of today's lecture is to seek a student-centered teaching and learning method where students proactively explore, produce, and share knowledges for themselves rather than remain as passive learners. I believe that Professor Richard will give us valuable lessons to transform our classrooms into a forum for dialogue and problem solving. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Yeah.
Thank you. 안녕하세요. I'm really honored to be here, and thank you for inviting me. It's my honor, and thank you for coming also. So I'm going to just talk about teaching today. So not content. I mean, you'll see some content because I'm going to show a couple of videos, but I really want to talk about teaching. And what I want to say, or how I will say, I'm going to introduce you to my style of teaching. And it is one of many different styles. I have this idea that I think it's important that there are lots of pedagogies and methods and ways of doing this communication between the person standing up here and the people sitting where you are sitting. And I think all the different styles are important, that we bring them all together. I do it one way, and I don't think that every course could do what I do, or that every instructor should do what I do. But I think but for me, it works. It's a valuative thing. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is myself, so you have an understanding of who I am and how I got to be to do the kinds of things that I do. Okay, so first, this is me, and that's my father. And so first off, from a very young age, I was very unconventional. You see that I'm dressed in pink, and so in the United States, I don't know in Korea, but in the U.S., they don't dress boys in pink. Today, we used to, though, by the way. Pink was the color of masculinity in the West. And then it changed somewhere in the early 1900s, and it became blue. But boys always wore pink, which is, again, this is one of those sociology things that, if you dig into the world, it's always more complex than we imagine it to be. By the way, I wore blue in honor of Korea University, so. And I had a doll and played with dolls. And my father was older when I was born, but then my father died when I was 9. And that really changed my life. So my father worked in a factory, and he never went to high school, although he did take some college classes, but he really believed in science and he believed in reading. And so in my life, there were always books in the house. And I didn't read them, but I saw them, and it gave me a vision of the importance of books. But when he died, I was on my own. And I had no guidance, and so I started working. I was buying my own school clothes at the age of 13. We were really pretty poor, and I didn't take school seriously, and so I was really a C student. I mean, I really was not, and in high school, I didn't study. I was a really, I was a bad boy in high school, okay? I won't say all the things that I did, but let me just say, I didn't ever go to jail, so I'm okay. But I didn't take school. I never looked at my report card. It didn't matter. I graduated in probably the lowest 1/3 of my high school class. And then I went to college. And in going to college, I applied because I didn't know, it was very inexpensive. I applied to the only university that I could apply to, and they let me in. And I later found out that they let everybody in. So if you had money, you could go. So it was not like Korea University, and there were no tests. And well, I should say this. I did take, we have, in the U.S., we have the SAT and the ACT, and I'm sure many of you took both of those. But I scored in the 51st percentile. So I'm above average. And really, that's for me, that's important. I want to be above average. So on many things. So I'm above average as a teacher. I'm above average as a lecturer. I just want to be above average. I don't want to be the best. I don't want to be below average. So 51 is really, really good. And so that got me into college, though. But of course, they didn't look at it. And no, mind you, what's really important is that if I had been in Korea, I never would have gone to college. I would not have been allowed to go to college. I mean, I don't know, are there some universities that I could pay to get into? Are there universities that, with my grades, there's even like a small, maybe, okay, so like a trade school or something, right? After 2.5 years in college, I was a musician. I played drums, I worked, I did lots of things. After 2.5 years, I was still a freshman. And I was on probation because my GPA in college was 1.9. And mind you, I liked to read. I was a reader. Like in high school, I would skip school and I would go hide in the library, and I would skip classes and I would go hide in the library and I would read. Because my classes were boring and not very interesting. They probably were interesting, but I didn't understand how to really learn. And so, but I would sit in the back of the library and I would read. And I read all sorts of books. I would go to the library as a kid, and I would bring home a stack of books like this, and I would read them, and then I would, go get another set of books. But my grades, I got C's and D's, you understand. I think. I don't remember because I didn't look at my report card. But then one day, I was 20 years old. I had transferred to what we have as a 2-year college. And I said, well, I'm never going to get a 4-year degree. Maybe I'll get a 2-year degree. And I had already started a business, and I thought, like, maybe I can just have something, right? I have 4 classes. I stopped going to 3 of them. I had 1 more class. And I said, if I stop going now, I will never go back to college. This will be the end of my college possibility, right? And so I was on my way to class, and I saw the library, and I said, I don't feel like going to class. And I went in the library, and I started looking up and down, and this is what I would do. I would go to the library, and you should try this sometime. On a Friday night or a Saturday night or some night when you would normally be out with your friends, go to the library and just spend time just looking at books you would never look at. And it's magical. And so I was walking around and I saw something, and I pulled it out, and it was a journal about prisons. And I started looking at it. And for the first time in my life, I said, I think this looks really interesting. Like, it's just something clicked. And I said, I could do that. And I walked over to the wall, and there was a phone on the wall, and I picked up the phone, and I called the social work department because it was a social work journal. And I said, hey, can I speak with somebody? And they said, Yeah, come over right now. So I went over, I signed up for social work, for sociology and social work. They were together at the time. And that next quarter, I was going to start all over. So I didn't go to class. I went home. I told my bandmates, because I was in a band and we were playing all the time. And I said, I'm quitting the band in 5 weeks. I went to my work and I said, I'm quitting work in 5 weeks. And I became a student for the first time in my life. Like, I did nothing but study. I would go to the university in the morning. I was a commuter, we say. And I went to the university in the morning, and I would stay all day and all night, and I would read in the library, and I was getting C's because I didn't have skills. You know, I couldn't write, but I could read, and I was a really creative thinker because I was reading. My whole life I had been reading books from all over the world, but I didn't have skills. I didn't know how to take a test. And so mind you, the 51st percentile, I didn't know what that test was. Someone said, you have to take this test. And I showed up one morning, and I'm not going to say or deny that I might have been hungover from drinking the night before, but I just said, that's just what happened as a hungover 17-year-old, okay? So it's not that I wasn't smart, but I didn't know how to take tests. And so, but one day in one class I got a B, and I said, oh, a B, okay, I can do this. And then I kept working, and I got a D and a C, and then I got an A. And I said, and it was the first A I ever got in my life, except in high school I got an A in typing. So I'm really good at typing. And and then I just kept going. And I woke up. I mean, I said, I am going to understand the world. And this is all I want to do. And so I became a student. Now, mind you, so I was now 20 years old. So again, understand, if I had been in Korea, I wouldn't be standing here today. And so that started my journey. And I've never stopped. And the good thing about me, or good thing about this journey, is that I meet many people, many young people, who by the time they get into my classes, and they're really good students, but they're burned out because they have spent their entire lifetime working so hard, like every student in this class and every professor, but every student, you have worked so hard to get here that at any moment you're on the edge of being burned out. So most of you, some of you are not, but most of you, because that's just the nature of life. I didn't have any of that. So when I started at 20, I had so much, my muscles I hadn't used anything. I was ready, and I'm still in that place today. I wake up every day, and I can't wait to open up my computer, start thinking, planning things out. I mean, it is just a glorious experience. So anyway, I finished my undergrad. Where I did my undergrad, remember, it's a university that had to accept me. It was the only place that would accept me for my master's degree in sociology. So I changed from social work to sociology. And by the way, I did it because I took one sociology class. It was social psychology for the sociologists here. And I said, this is the absolute most interesting stuff I have ever read in my life. Because sociology teaches us about the invisible strings that are shaping our lives in the ways that we don't see. This is the sociological imagination. So we're like puppets, and we're just like, these strings are, moving us, and they're shifting our thinking and our actions and so much, and they're invisible. We don't see them, and we think that we're really operating on our own terms. I'm thinking about what I want to do. It's all about me. But the truth is, what sociology teaches us is that these strings, they're organized in very complex and fascinating ways, according to our culture and our class and our gender and our sex and all these things around us. And that that they're not only shaping my behavior, but they're shaping the behavior of everybody else who's in this kind of group that I'm in. And so I started learning that in social psychology, and it was the first time in my life I realized I'm not in control entirely. And the degree to which I think I'm in control, I'm really not in control. And so that awakened me. Come on, you think about this, right? When somebody comes along and tells you that something is shaping your behavior, and you don't even know what it is, and you can't see it, that makes you really curious to say, well, what is that? Well, that's why you study sociology. You see, that's why this is such an awesome field. But I went on, then after I did my master's degree, and then I applied for a PhD program at Rutgers University, and I got in. And then I went to Rutgers and I did my PhD. But my area of focus, I was saying this to some of your professors earlier, my area of focus is Latin America. From a young age as an undergrad, I learned Spanish. I traveled to Spain and learned Spanish. And I'm a Latin American studies person, so I've lived a long time in Latin America, and I study many different countries and so on. So anyway, I came back up from Latin America, and this is what I looked like when I started at Penn State University, right? By the way, that's the Western depiction of Jesus, And so imagine if I didn't have glasses. So I was working in Ecuador with priests and nuns, Catholic priests and nuns, and we would go travel into the countrysides, and oftentimes on horseback. And we were meeting what in Spanish is campesinos. Campesinos are small farmers, and their whole lives they've been told by the priests and the nuns that Jesus is coming. He's going to return. And the images of Jesus looked kind of like that, without the earring, And so sometimes we would come into the community and people would come up to the priest and say, Padrecito, is that him? Is that Jesus? So I have the experience of being seen as Jesus in my life, which is kind of cool. If you're a Christian, even if you're not a Christian, that's kind of a cool thing. I'm not a Christian, but I certainly enjoyed that. It's a powerful experience. Okay, so that's what I look like. And I show you that photo because I'm very unconventional. I was always unconventional. And from an early age, I realized I didn't need to, nor did I want to follow the path that pretty much everybody else follows. I decided I was going to pursue my own path. I knew I didn't need money. I knew that money would come to me or it would not come to me. And I was a house painter. I learned how to paint houses. That's one thing I was doing at a young age. And I was really good at it, and I made a lot of money. So I always knew that in the end I could paint houses. And I could read books, and I could study, and I could paint houses. And painting is very meditative. It's a very kind of Zen-like kind of it's very quiet, very centering activity. And so for me, it's a spiritual experience as well. So I knew I could do that. So I always followed my own path. I didn't need to follow, and I didn't know what that path would be. I knew it would be unconventional, and so of course, it really has been. But now I want to talk about. Let me just show you. So I started teaching at Penn State 31 years ago, and over time, my teaching and my way of being has evolved into this. This is the trailer for my class. So. That's great. Yeah. Twice a week for 15 weeks in a semester, 2 semesters a year. So that's 60 classes per year. I put together what is really a production. So it's somewhere between a classroom and a show. I don't know what you would call it, but it's a production. And I write a script. I mean, it's not scripted out, but I write the script. I kind of know where I'm going. I have an idea of the ideas that I want students to leave with. I have an idea. I know what the questions are that I want students to wrestle with, and I know also that in the middle of class, new questions will come up, or people will have questions that I don't even know what they are. But I do this 60 times a year. No class is ever the same. So year after year after year, you could watch, every class is recorded. For the past 5 years, every class is up on YouTube. You could watch 5 years of classes, and not a single class is ever the same. And they're not the same because I'm bringing other people up, or talking to people from some other part of the world. I'm saying something different. Students say something different. Everything has a different way of being in the world. So that's kind of a sense of what's going on. Now, let me talk about this. Think back to your high school. I usually ask people who have, for those of you who are professors and instructors, I would ask, think back to your undergraduate days. And to the rest of you, I would say, think back to your high school. What do you remember? What facts do you remember? If I gave you the microphone up here, said, here, come take this microphone. And what I want you to do is we have almost 50 minutes. So you have 50 minutes to tell the rest of this gathering here everything you remember from your undergraduate years or from your high school years. Now, if you think about all the time you spent as a student, so it's 4 years, whatever it is, 3-4 years. That's a lot of time you spent in a classroom. Taking notes, learning facts, reading information, having information, downloading information into your brain from teachers and professors. How much do you actually remember? So one day as a teacher, and I remember this distinctly, I was putting together PowerPoint slides, and I was kind of putting my notes together with information and so on. And I thought, my students aren't going to remember any of this. And I said, what am I doing, right? Like, what am I doing? Now, mind you, this is me. Again, this is really important. I don't think my style of teaching is for everybody. I don't think my style of not being interested, not downloading or uploading, I would say for me it's uploading facts and ideas into the minds of students, is for everybody. I'm only talking about me. And I had this realization that said, I asked myself, I said, what do you remember from your undergraduate years? So I'm always putting myself in the shoes of people, in the seats of students, right? And I thought, I remember one thing. That's it. And the one thing I remembered, it's a really crazy thing. In a courtroom, when you have a jury, and you have I don't know about juries, or I don't know about this in Korea. In the U.S., so we have juries. So maybe there's 10 or 12 people who are going to decide the case for whatever the case is in a trial. And you go in the courtroom and you sit at usually it's a table, and it's an oblong table, like the size of this panel here. And there's, let's say, 12 seats around it. And I had this class, and it's really interesting that I'm telling you this. I don't think I've ever told anybody this. And this person studied juries. And he said, you know, if you're ever on a jury and you want to be the spokesperson for the jury, sit at the end of the table. You have like a 38 or a 42% greater chance of being the spokesperson for the jury if you sit at the end of the table. People will pick you. And I remembered that. And I said, oh my God, that's the only thing I remember from 4 years of college education. And I said, I don't remember anything from my undergraduate years. And I thought, this is for me a recipe of insanity. Like, why am I doing this? And so I decided in that moment, for me, once again, this is really important. I think there are many classes in which it's very important to give information, whatever it is, it doesn't, but not for me. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to teach sociology differently. And so I go into my classroom and I say, hey, if you want facts, you have these things. Right there, this is one of the most powerful computers in human history. Everything you could ever know is right here. If you want facts, look it up. Like right here, sitting in your seat. You can do it in my class, it's fine. You can have your phones, pull your phones out, look up facts. Don't ask me, because first off, I don't know what facts you're going to want. So I have no idea. Learn to use your phone. My students in the United States are terrible researchers. They have no idea how to use the phone to research information. And I think, how do you not know that? This is a miracle. Right here, this is a miracle. I spend at least 4 hours a day on my computer or on my phone looking up facts and information, because this is what I do for a living, you know? So I think, oh my God. So I tell my students, if you want facts, look it up on your own. But that's not my job. If you want information, if you want definitions to sociology terms, look it up on your own. I teach a class on racism, like race and ethnicity and culture. My students never receive a definition of race, ethnicity, and culture, because there's so many definitions out there. I say, if you want one, look it up. You could read for weeks about definitions of those three terms. I'm not going to waste time with that. We have other things to do. In memorization, I said, okay, you're not going to remember anything from my class. You know, here's one thing that happened. For quite a number of years, I would leave class and I would see my students, you know, like walking across campus or something, and a student would say, hey, that was a really great class today. And I would say, oh, what did you like about it? And they would say, well, you know, it was just really interesting. I said, yeah, okay. But what did you like? What was interesting? Well, you know, the stuff you were talking about, when you were talking about the way human beings live and, I don't know, in urban versus rural, and then they mumble, and I say, well, what about that? Well, you know, and I realized after years of trying to get from students, extract from them something that they really could remember from my class, 5 to 10 minutes after it was over, I got nothing. And then not only that, the most disturbing piece was that I teach very highly controversial subject matters. So if you ever watch any of my videos, and I'm going to show you a couple here quickly, you will know that this is very controversial. I mean, it's not really, but I'm just willing to talk about anything. And people are often not willing to talk about everything. But for me, I am. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about. And so I'm not afraid, because I really think that I just have a sense. I love life. I love human beings. I can go to the dark side. I can go to the light side. It's all good. But I sometimes touch in these really controversial things, okay? Students, I would hear from somebody, one of my colleagues, oh, hey, you know, I heard from one of your students that you said X in class, right? And I would say, actually, that's not what I said at all. I said the opposite of that. Oh. And then I would hear, like, another time, the same thing. And people would and always misconstrue what it was that I was saying. Misconstrue, right? So they would misunderstand. And I said, okay, this is silly. Why am I going to get them to memorize? They can't remember anything. They can't remember a basic idea that I gave. The most important idea that I would present to the class, they couldn't even remember that. So I said, this is crazy. So what I decided as a result of that, well, my job is to inspire. I'll ask you, who do you remember from high school or college, and those of you who are Korea University, KU students? Do you say KU? KU? Okay, KU students. And who do you remember? Which professors do you remember? Who? Yeah. So I thought to myself, I was thinking, who do I remember? And I said, I remember the inspirational people. I remember the people who inspired me to think. They didn't tell me what to think. They inspired me to think. And they were the ones who said, keep going. Ask a different question. Ask it a different way. Imagine you don't have the answer. Imagine your answer is wrong. Come up with another one. Keep going. Think outside the box. All the fish are swimming this way. Swim the other way. No matter what what you think everybody around you thinks, take the opposite position and try to argue for that. Imagine that everybody is wrong constantly. And I had some professors who were so inspirational. And I would sit in their classrooms and I would it's not that I wanted to be like them, but I wanted to be able to think like them. I wanted to think on my own terms. I wanted to come up with my own thoughts and theories and ways of seeing things. And so they inspired me to be better than what I was. That no matter what, I'm never going to have the answer to the most interesting questions of life. I will never have an answer, because the most interesting questions don't have answers. Even the basic sociology ones, we were talking this morning about just some sociology that's like you just feel it. All you can do is sort of feel the answer, but you're never going to really get there, because it's just when you think you have it, it goes through your fingers, So I thought, these are the people I remember. And I realized that's my job for my students. I want to inspire them. And I'm just going to do what I'm really here to do, and what students have been telling me since the very first class I ever taught. Students have been telling me that I do, which is I get them to think. And I used to try to research this, and I actually did a couple studies on it to pick to get into the brains of my students and say, but what do you mean I get you to think? I inspire you to think. And they'd be like, they couldn't say what it was, but they just knew that it was happening. I confused them. They left every class more confused than when they came in. And I thought, I've done my job. Because if you're confused, you got to go figure it out. Now, you don't have to. You could just turn your brain off. But if you're born to be a thinker, right? If you're at KU because you want to get a job and you want to make money, and then once you get out of KU and you graduate, you just turn your brain off. And I've heard this from young Koreans a lot. It's called the brain swiping, right? One student called it brain swiping. You study for an exam, and you just fill up all your brain, and then as soon as you take the exam, you swipe it clean, you wipe it clean, because you have to fill it up again for the next exam. So if that's your life, then okay, that's fine. Then go do your thing, and get your job, and turn your brain off. Life is very difficult, my friends. When you get to my age, if you think it's difficult now, wait till you're at my age, and you have lived a life, And you have to ask yourself, did I live a good enough life? Did I live the life that I was supposed to live? Did I live the life that really brought my potential to the surface? Right? But if the way to do that is to kind of turn your brain off, just get your degree and do what you have to do and move on, then that's really wonderful. But if you're a thinker, and you're born to be a thinker, that's a different story. That's far more complex. And that's what I do, and that's what I try to do with my students. Now, mind you, I don't always inspire. I mean, obviously, I don't, but I inspire me. You know, I don't teach. Like, people think, oh, you really enjoy helping students. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't care about students, actually. When you've had I've had 60, 70,000 students in my life. I really don't, that's not what motivates me. What motivates me every time I walk into the classroom is like, I want to think differently. I want to be motivated. And I get tired talking to myself. And I need more information, and so I talk to students. That's why I bring students up to the front of the class, and I say, no, you tell me. That's why we have video conferences with people from around the world. We ask them questions. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm not here, like, okay, I'm here now talking, and I'm here in Korea, and I'm, giving a number of talks and doing a couple television things and so on, but that's not why I'm in Korea. I'm in Korea to listen to Koreans. Last night I had a conversation with a journalist who had interviewed me a year ago in one of your stations, and I said, can we have dinner? And I just want to talk to you. I want to hear from you. I want to interview you. And she had spent 3 years living in Canada, and I said, so, you're one of those people. Like, you have something to say. Like, you really do. You've lived in these two worlds. I want to pick your brain, right? That's why I teach. That's my motivation, to grow. I want to answer those difficult questions of life, right? Okay, so let me just show you. I want some questions, but I want to just show you a couple short clips. And if you haven't seen any, I'm assuming most of you have not seen clips from my class. But these are just two. And I'm doing these because they involve Asian and Asian American students. And so the first one is, I'll let you watch it and we'll see how much you, what's the dating scene for you? Have you ever dated? Who do you date? Wait, are you straight, by the way? What's that?
Bi.
Bi? Who do you date?
I'm not really in the dating scene right now, but I guess attractive
Dude, you
people.
might be after today's class. There's a nice close-up of you on the screen. You might get some attention. All right.
Alrighty.
And so, have you had any experiences with that? Of people not being interested in you because you're an Asian man?
Yes, a little bit.
Do you have any stories or anything, any way you could say that?
Not really stories, but I guess some people just don't find, let's say, Asian men attractive, or they're looking for a specific type of person.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just how society is. Asian men are just not perceived as either masculine, or they just seem, too into their studies to even focus on their relationship. There's just a lot of stereotypes that are out there that probably make people think differently and already have a perception on Asian men.
Yeah, exactly. See how he's teaching? He's doing my job. I should pay him, right? But see, he's teaching. He has something to say about his. I can say this, but you see, if you just give someone the microphone and you ask them a question, they have something to say. Right, now, mind you, that wasn't a very good question I asked him because it was a closed-ended question, but, everybody has something to offer.
Or they even get to really know the person.
Yeah, so one of the things that we see in particular What this research study was they were looking at like how, like you two guys, like how much in order to be as to compete. Hang on, bro. Just come here really fast. Like say with this guy, he's taller, but like just to compete with this guy on the market, he's just an average looking white dude. You know what I mean? Okay, dude, you're really handsome, actually. He's a really handsome looking white guy. And no, but to compete with him on the dating market, what this study was, what they were looking at was how much more money these two guys have to make, how much more they have to be, how much more educated, how much more money they have to make, et cetera, to get as much attention, say, on like dating websites as this dude, right? What's your name, bro? Justin, as Justin. And it's really a lot. And the issue is what you're saying is like Asian men are not seen as desirable sexual partners or in any way. Thanks, dog. It's $200,000, by the way. And see that this guy right here, this guy, the irony is he later worked for me. He's rich, right? Like. He drove like a Maserati. Like this guy was rich, you know. So that is also the irony of this kind of thing, you know. Yeah, man. Nice hair, by the way. All right. So, okay. Do you all have? Dude, are you all on the dating scene? Are you on the dating market? Do you find Asian men attractive? Dude. All the Asian men in the world are waiting for your answer. Do you find Asian guys attractive? You don't?
I apologize, but I do not find Asian men attractive, no.
Whoa, all right. Go ahead. And you?
Yeah, I don't really either.
You don't either?
No offense to like anyone.
Whoa, all right. Where do you think that's from? Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Dude, hang on, Jack. Come here a second. Look at this. Now, so listen. Understand. I want to just show you something. This was a few years ago, right? My whole way, I've just slowed down a little bit, but do you have any thoughts about that? So I jumped and went somewhere else, but what are your thoughts about that? That's such a good question. Like, so you get someone to answer that. Like, what are your thoughts? And then students get a chance to say. Now, mind you, we're in the United States, so what happens with international, so a lot of you, and the students in here would say, oh my God, if I was at Penn State, I would never talk. I couldn't do that. Well, yeah, but you couldn't if you were a first-year student. But you know, like you study in the U.S. and like after a semester or a year, you start to kind of adapt to the way people are. And many of the students, like early on, would say, I'd be too shy to get the microphone and talk. But after a year or two, people, you know, it's an experience. And I have lots of international students who want to be in front of the class. They want to take the microphone. They just want to have that experience. So here, I'll do this. Look at this guy. Come on, man. He's like a really handsome dude. What's not attractive about him?
Okay, so I think...
The sweater, maybe?
I think
what?
the issue...
Like
he looks nice. I think the issue is that I grew up around white people, so in movies and media, you portray white guys as attractive, and also as the only Asian person. Every Asian guy I've been around with, people assume they're my brother because of all the white people.
Oh, right, I got
So I don't know if it's construed from, oh, he looks like me, he could be related to me. Maybe.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have a thought on that?
I mean, I've had, let's say, Asian girl, like female friends that pretty much just said, not to me personally, but they just said they're not attracted to Asian men.
To Asian guys?
Yeah.
Who are they attracted to?
Typically white guys, but I think that's just society as a whole.
Are you straight? Are you on the dating scene at all?
No.
Yeah, that's because your parents might watch this one day. If you were, who would you be dating?
I think I'm the only one out of everyone that's actually into Asian people.
Oh, really? You're into Asian people? All right.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
I mean, my parents would prefer if I actually date an Asian person, so it's like ingrained in me to be like, oh, like, I should probably look for Asian boys.
Yeah. So you probably should, and then it's just fine that you do. And you travel back to Taiwan a lot, you said?
Yeah.
So it's for you, it's more natural. All right. I think it's actually really, if I do, pull the next one up. Yeah. Hey, so this video, by the way,
Good grammar and
particular one,
spelling are important.
I
But
got more email from not just Asian American men, but men from Korea, Taiwan, China. More email on this video than any video I've ever done. And what they say is, "Thank you for talking about this." Like, thank you. Like, no, I've never ever seen anybody talk about this issue. And with my students, you know, they just talk about what a struggle it is. I had men there was a gentleman, he was Korean English. I mean, he lived in London, but he was of Korean ancestry. He said, I've been suicidal for years. He said, I haven't had a date in 10 years. I can't find anybody who's interested in me, not even East Asian women who are here. And he said, I've been suicidal for years. And like, I really so appreciate the fact that you're willing to put this issue out there. It really gave me hope to say, no, it's okay. And he said, if you ever want me to speak in your class, and I get this a lot from people, I'll be happy to speak in your class. I mean, this is really... Okay, there's one more then. I want to just show you this other one, and then we'll take questions, because, Nicole, I want you to pick out of these three guys. This was a different semester. Which one is the most handsome? Okay? Now, here's the deal. So here's the deal. You gotta now you're gonna have to keep your glasses are cool, but you're gonna want to go with glasses on and glasses off. And you guys, what you want to do is, you gotta come on, man. I'm trying to get you a date. You know what I mean? Do you have a boyfriend?